Today we're going to be building LEGO Technic set 42210, the Too Fast, Too Furious Nissan Skyline GT-R. This set just came out on June 1st, and I'm excited to build it as a larger Fast and Furious car again. So let's get started. So this is the new LEGO Technic Too Fast, Too Furious Nissan Skyline set number 4210. This retails in the US for $139.99 and comes with 1,410 pieces. This is a really nice car, and I think LEGO's done an excellent job really modeling after the actual car from the Too Fast, Too Furious movie. It's actually a little bigger. It's actually a bit bigger than I had originally thought it was going to be. For 1,400 pieces, obviously it's bigger than the Speed Champions one that did a couple years ago. But I just felt like this one's bigger than I'd imagine. It does have some cool functionality as well. So just coming around to the front of the car, they have, I'll show you in a minute. There are quite a few stickers on this set, but, there's some good, I love the way they designed the actual car itself in this, this grill in front here. The front of the car, the hood does open up to reveal these 6 pistons, and like all the other cars, it does have movable pistons. You turn the wheels. And then coming around to the other side, again, they have some cool lights, some clear pieces here for some cool lights. The wheels are actually really nice. I like the way they have these pieces. Basically, the wheels have the rims on these wheels are, they're kind of unique. I don't know if I've ever seen these pieces before, but they're pretty cool how they fit into the wheel here. They look exactly like the actual car, which is nice. And again, there's a lot of stickers and decals. I'll get to that in a minute. But both of these doors do open. There is a seat. Obviously, it's on the left side in the movie over here. And then coming around to the back again, there's just the wheels. The back of the car is cool. It's got some color fluorescent pieces here, translucent pieces here, with the again some stickers, and then the muffler, and then the stickers over here. The back of the car does flip up, and there's really nothing in the back here, but the spoiler does move on the back, and then the back lifts up as well. There is in this car, I was trying to show you. So if you flip this little thing back here and you turn it back, it releases these two drift, what they call these, to create a drifting effect, where you could essentially it kind of mimics drifting. So the front wheels stay on, and the rear of the car can turn, which is a nice little effect. Again, they've never done anything like that before, but it's a cool feature to this particular car. And you just push it back up to pull them in, and then again around the sides. Again, there's just the same on the other side here. Again, both doors do open. There's 3 NOS tanks here, which is pretty cool the way they've done this. The inside has a lot of stickers. Of course, it reveals the dashboard. The front wheels do turn both by the knob at the top here, but they also do turn with the steering wheel, which is kind of cool. I feel like LEGO Technic sets in the past have always started to rely a lot on this upper piece, and this one actually has both, which is a pretty cool feature. I think I like how they've done that. The build was really interesting. I had a lot of fun building this. Again, I'm a fan of the Fast and Furious series, and basically you build out the bottom of the car, and the transmission and all the gears and everything, and it comes together really nicely. For $139, this definitely is a one to build and one to pick up if you're a LEGO Technic fan or a Too Fast, Too Furious fan. Then our Fast and Furious, Too Fast, Too Furious fan, I would definitely highly recommend picking this one up. So as I mentioned, there are quite a few stickers on this set, probably upwards of 40 or 50 decal stickers in this set. But again, all the logos and the stickers here. But again, there's only a few different pieces. The front of the car has these aren't printed pieces here. These are not printed. There's very little printed pieces at all on this set. And then just getting to the manual. So of course, there's a good picture right of the front of the car here. At this angle, it's nice. I always like the front of this car and the grille of this Nissan. And then of course it talks. It's just the picture of the car from the actual film, and then it just talks a little bit about the car and the NOS and the saga from Fast and Furious. And it talks a little bit about Brian O'Connor and his iconic car. There's another picture of the LEGO set here, and then it does talk again about the NOS and the engines. It shows a picture of the NOS here. And then this is the the new drifting feature that I showed you earlier. Where you pulled I like the fact that LEGO is following up with the cars from the series. They did it obviously quite a few years ago with Dodge Charger, which is a really good build. And then again with this one. So I think, if, like I said, if you're a LEGO Technic fan, a LEGO car fan, Fast and Furious fan, this is definitely one you'll definitely want to pick up. I really enjoyed it, and I think that you'll enjoy putting this one together too. So I hope you enjoyed this build and review, and if you did, again, I appreciate you clicking on like and subscribe. And once again, I appreciate your support, and thanks for watching.